Hey guys, it's Droker and Katie Candy today here with another episode of From Comics to Cinemas. And today we are discussing one of my personal favorites, Barry Allen, The Flash. We're just gonna get
Yes.
right into it because he's always late, but we're not.
We're
So
not.
we're not.
Even
So
though
yeah,
technically we're 2 minutes late.
yeah. Well, in Barry Allen fashion. No, it was this was my head is still spinning. This was a lot. I've known grew up watching, Flash on Justice League, a couple comics here and there, stuff like that. Oh, knowing generally what was going on, but actually deep diving in and trying to connect everything, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, maybe you went over my head on this one,
It's a
but we're here.
lot to digest.
Yeah, and like I said in my tweet, I want to mainly talk about Barry, but honestly, it's extremely hard to just talk about Barry without at least mentioning Wally, Jay, and Bart
Yeah.
Allen.
They're so intertwined,
Yeah.
especially I mean, I want to say especially just Jay and
Mhm.
Barry, but really I can't say that because Bart is Barry's grandson and
Yeah.
Wally is Barry's nephew and Jay is Barry's hero who was
Yeah.
a comic book character but also an actual person.
Yes.
So
Yeah, which DC does like to do,
they
which I
do.
they do like to do, like, that whole, like, real comic book hero, but a person within the comic book story, but they know, because like, yeah, look, Barry Allen as a kid when he grew up, he read comics. He read comics about Jay Garrick. That's kinda where he got his heroicism from. That's who he
Hmm.
modeled his, like, when you grow up, you model you like for me, it was like Power Rangers, Batman, and like Ninja Turtles. Like that was those were like I pretended to be as a kid. I don't know
Yeah.
what it was for you.
Me, it was Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
So you just kind of latch on to stuff,
Oh
and
yeah.
that was Jay for Barry. So Barry had a very rough. Well, okay, so Barry had two origins. Barry had a rough origin.
Regardless, Barry had a rough. The what is it? The same thing is his mother
Hmm.
died and his
Hmm.
father went to prison.
Right,
Right.
which is, yeah. His mother died. His father went to prison, and it inspired him to go into CSI, into like crime scene. Well, I
Right.
think it depends on who was writing him. I think it was crime scene forensics in one, and I think he's like a photographer in a couple stories too as well. Not just forensics, but that's I digress. Um, so yeah, he's as a kid, he watches his mother get killed. In the original origin, he stays with his mother and him. And he basically just gets really inspired to like try to find out like really like, or not his mother and him, excuse me, his father and him. His father's in jail, but he goes visits often,
Yeah.
and he's trying to figure out like what really happened that night because
Yeah.
like he knows his dad didn't do it. Like, his
Yeah.
dad just wouldn't do it. His dad's not that guy.
Exactly.
Um, which side note, if you guys want to see a really good visual representation of the origin of Barry Allen, CW's Flash does actually
It
a
really does a
really good
good
job
job.
of the
And the
origin
first
story.
season of the Flash of that show, I'm gonna say it was really good.
Was solid.
And
Mhm.
then it started to
Yeah, every season got progressively worse in
yeah.
my opinion as it went on, just like Arrow. And then they kind of picked up with the crossovers, and which I haven't seen yet because I haven't seen anything to connect them. So it wouldn't make any, even though it's anyway. So yeah,
I have a feeling today there's going to be a lot of. Anyway.
there's gonna be a lot of me just like trying not to go on tangents because there's so much to talk about today, basically. So it inspires him to like go through basically, and the whole point is he's in a lab. He's in a
Yes.
police lab at one point, and he's just frustrated. He can't. He's frustrated, man. He's been doing this for so long. He's finally fed up. He lost his mother. This happened. It's an origin story. Like there's always loss. So and then he kind of throws himself into a. Well, I think depending on what it is, he throws himself or he trips into a chemical case,
Yeah.
basically of test tubes and beakers and stuff, and then lightning hits him as well. It's like this crazy accident happened, and that's pretty much where he gets the Speed Force,
Right.
and he becomes the Flash.
And then you get to like the reverse flash, which I feel like I'm jumping ahead, maybe.
No, because okay, so the Speed Force, which there's the Reverse Flash, which there's also the Anti-Speed Force. So,
Let's
guys,
go.
there's a lot of speedsters,
There's a lot.
a
And
lot.
there's more than you think you know. Because I
Yeah,
found that out. I was like, wait, what?
yeah, and a couple have actually gotten written in after the fact,
Hmm.
but that's a whole different situation. So yeah, so he basically the Speed Force hits him. Now the Speed Force in the DC universe is one of the seven forces that kind of glues the DC verse together post Infinite Crisis. So you got Speed Force and the Still Force. Of course, they're opposites. One's all about kinetic energy and inertia, and the other one's all about entropy and like stopping stopping the go. So it's like the opposite, which Gorilla Grodd uses a lot. Lex Luthor's the one who actually discovered the Still Force because he wanted the Flash's powers, because everybody wants the Flash's powers, because he's the center of every
Yes.
crisis or infinite this or crisis that or time travel parallel universe this, insert Flash, any Flash, and it doesn't matter, Wally West, Barry Allen, Jay Garrick, they're all like they're integrated into the DC universe. So you can't really talk about the DC universe without talking about the Flash, to be honest.
Yeah, that's 100% correct.
Yeah, it's yeah, it's hold on, here we go. So now flash forward. The reason why there's two origins is because there's a timeline. There's a story which we're going to talk about real quick called Flashpoint, because we're just this one kind of needs to get it out of the way because it's crucial to the origin.
It's my favorite Flash story.
It's one of my favorite Flash stories. It's definitely up there. Why is it yours?
I just think it's really cool because you get to see different things. So like you see Thomas Wayne as Batman, right? Instead of Bruce. And it's like things are switched. Like what you're accustomed to is not the case. So it's just kind of like, for me, it's a nice little shakeup into the DC realities, right? So you've got Thomas Wayne as Batman, and then he has to help Flash get his powers back, and all this other stuff.
Not in the best way.
No.
Very like gruesome way, because it doesn't work the first time.
Like first degree burns. Like
yeah.
It is not pleasant for the Flash when he's trying to get his powers back. So to me, it's just a really cool way of seeing things differently as to like what could have been instead of what is.
Right. Yeah. It's Thomas Wayne as Batman is brutal. Martha Wayne as the Joker is
the Joker is crazy, which I really kind of like because it kind of touches in, which I know we talked about in the Batman movie podcast that we did in season 1. So it's kind of cool to kind of see, oh, well, maybe,
Yeah. So basically what happens is the Flash wakes up one day and his mom's alive, and he's like, whoa, am I dreaming? You're supposed to be dead. I mean, everything's slightly askew, like Katie said. Thomas Wayne's Batman. Bruce Wayne's the one who actually dies in that whole tragic accident. So everything's just reversed. I believe Themyscira and Atlantis are going to war on this one.
Yes, they are.
I believe they're going to war. Yes. They're not friendly at all. They're like waging war, and humans and Earth is kind of just caught in the middle. It's a crazy Earth, but it was Reverse Flash, I believe, was the one who set it all up.
Yeah. It was.
Who set everything up.
Yeah.
Who took away his powers because Barry goes to like explain who he is to Thomas Wayne, and he goes to like get his costume out, and it's Reverse Flash's costume. It's not his costume.
Yeah, and he's like, whoa.
He's like, that son of a. Yeah, I can't believe he did this. Now it all makes sense. So like now he's got to explain it, like what's going on to Thomas Wayne, in hopes that he's still a Wayne who has the Wayne intellect, who will be able to like be that great detective that they all are, and connect dots. And he'd be like, okay, I see what's going on here. You're a meta from another universe. Yeah.
Lucky for him, he is.
Yeah, so. And he is. Yeah, even though he's an alcoholic with a 5 o'clock shadow. But yeah, so after all of that, anyway, that's a whole nother.
So he's you as Batman? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. Basically, yeah, he owns a casino. Instead of a bat plane, he owns like a luxury private jet that he like flies millionaires into his casino. And
oh yeah, but the Bat Cave is like not really like.
Oh, it's
like,
a cave.
Yeah, it's like really cheapy. It's a cave. Yeah. It's not anything
with like a table. And like a light and like whiskey bottles everywhere, and then like tattered newspapers and like Bruce Wayne pictures when he was a kid before, like, when he died. It's just like, yeah, it's a cave. Memorial to depression. Oh. But that actually, and if you watch the animated verse, that actually has one of my favorite heroes, Grifter, appears in that. Anyway. And Etrigan too. So speaking of two characters that are like way out of nowhere. So yeah, he fixes the timeline. He comes back, and after that, basically the same thing. So basically, certain things in the DC universe have to happen in order for the DC universe to exist. And unfortunately, Barry Allen's mom is dying is kind of one of them.
Yes.
He can't save his mom. Every time he tries, it ruins, like the DC universe just like melts and like falls apart. He can't. It's one of those really sad story arcs that like or notes, I guess, in his story that's like, he just can't have it. Sorry, no mom, dude.
That's, I don't mean to
Okay.
laugh, but I can't help it.
Yeah, no, it's just there's so much to go fucking talk about. It's just so much. It's like my head is so hurting right now. Okay, so now we got to talk about Jay Garrick a little bit. Actually, yeah. So Jay Garrick, who was a Flash as well,
Who has an
um,
awesome hat.
yeah, he looks like Mercury.
He
His
really
whole
does.
stylistic, the whole Golden Age thing was definitely the whole Mercury inspiration. You can tell for sure. And it's one of the things that when Wonder Woman runs into any Flash across time, she immediately recognizes the Mercury helmet and
Mm-hmm.
the lightning bolt because she knows like that's like a Hermes or whatever. I don't know if she calls Hermes or Mercury. I can't remember. But yeah, so Jay Garrick, existing originally on Earth 2, founder of the JSA, which is the Justice Society of America, which is basically the precursor to the Justice League of America. Um, just as fast, just as powerful, just as in tune with the Speed Force as Barry. There's really only a few characters who are. It's Jay Garrick, Barry, Wally West, who arguably he might be more in tune with the Speed Force than Barry is
I
in
I
certain situations.
I kind of, I'm gonna say it. I feel like Wally is more in tune with the Speed Force, and he's more
Yeah,
powerful than Barry.
yeah. He kind of he's steadily because that's the main guy we get in the Justice League
Mm-hmm.
animated series. So if you were a kid and you watched that Wally West was who you grew up with. That was the Flash that you guys all knew.
Right.
Because during that time, which is what was going on, Infinite Crisis, basically it comes out. DC like merged the universes. They like were like, okay, so we're gonna do this big event across everything, every title. We're gonna merge everything into one multiverse, and then that's why we got Jay Garrick originally from Earth 2, came to New Earth, and was the precursor to that. We get main continuity JSA stuff. So that whole thing happened, and then Flash kind of disappears at the end of that event. And then he comes back, which is Barry Allen, that Flash, and then so we get Wally West for a couple years after Teen Titans and Justice League, and then he comes back, and it comes. I think it's like Rebirth. I'm not really sure the name of the story right now. This is where I'm gonna have to look stuff up real quick. No, Final Crisis. So he comes back, Final Crisis, and it turns out that Barry Allen was basically running from death the entire time.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Yeah. So,
Which is it? Is it Barry or is it Wally? I can't remember. Who basically runs so far into time that death as a construct no longer exists.
That's Wally.
That's what. Okay, that's what I thought.
That's why I would argue he is a little bit more in tune with the Speed
Yes.
Force because Barry's initial reaction was just to keep running, just through universes, through multiverses.
Right.
Wally's was like, all right, I'm gonna take you somewhere where I think you can't go, which is the end of time.
Yeah.
Where you just don't matter. It's like life, death, nothing matters. It's the end of time, which was 200 IQ move, by the way.
It was when you outplay death.
Yeah, and
Take
which
that,
there's
Bill and Ted Death.
go back to that death. Which in the DC verse there are many variations of death.
Yes.
Every pretty much every like everybody has a version of it. The speedsters have their own. Mystics have their own. Lanterns have their own. It's the Black Lantern. So yeah. There's a Black Racer, and there's also a like which is who Barry was running from. But there's a like zombified version of Flash too, which I think is the actual representation of death, like physical, like he's the speedster death. So that's I don't think Black Racer, and I think they're different. But yeah, there's again a lot of speedsters. Okay, what else are we going on? Jesus. I guess now's a good time to talk about Wally.
Yeah.
So Wally basically had the exact same accident happen to him as Barry. That's how he got the Speed Force.
Right. He was at Barry's lab when he was
Mhm,
like 10, right? Because it
mhm,
was like bring your kid to work day
mhm.
type deal.
Yeah. He was trying to like get him out of the house. Like, come on, kid, let's go. Let's
Yeah.
go in Central City and like let's go see the city and stuff. And you're like, I'll take you to the police lab. Like, how cool, right?
Right. And then basically same exact thing, gets the chemicals and the lightning, and next thing you know,
Yeah.
speedster.
Boom, Kid Flash, which is where originally Wally was Kid Flash, which is
Right.
how we got Kid Flash.
Which
So
and
yeah.
DC kind of brought that in because at that point in
Mhm,
time, like sidekicks were a big thing in
mhm,
comics, right? So
mhm.
that's why they decided to kind of give
They went
Flash.
for it.
They went for it, and they what better name than Kid Flash.
I mean, why not? It worked. It
So
was cheesy, but it did work.
it did.
Not to be confused with Bart Allen Impulse, that Kid Flash.
Right.
Different. So
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
Wally was the
Yeah.
original.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that whole thing happened where he was in the Teen Titans as well. Um, but he was Iris West's nephew,
Yes.
which basically made him Barry's nephew.
Right. Because they got married. Well, in that reality, and then in one reality or
Mhm.
one rewrite, I guess they didn't
Right.
get
Yeah.
married, and everyone who grew up with the original Barry Allen before Wally West was like, hold up, yo, what do
Yeah.
you mean Barry and Iris aren't married? Like, and
Yeah.
there was like a big hado and everything.
Which, if you really want some good Wally West stuff, I recommend. What was it? Young Justice.
Yeah.
Young Justice does a really good job with that whole Teen Titans sidekick story. That was the whole reason that show is the whole reason that reignited my love of the Jaime Reyes Blue Beetle. I was like, that is a good character. I forgot about that character.
And you know what? Brandon's not even here to
He's not even here.
to say
Yeah.
anything
So
about
yeah.
Jaime.
So Wally just in tune with the Speed Force again. So the Speed Force is like it kind of has it's almost sentient.
Mhm.
It needs an outlet, and it chooses people from which to have an outlet with, and it disguises the way it chooses as accidents.
Right.
As usually it involves a lightning bolt or some kind of chemical lightning combination or some of the force. So that's really what's going on. Why there's so many speedsters and what's going on with that whole thing, because it needs an outlet. Like if the Speed Force doesn't have an outlet, like bad things happen in the DC universe. Really bad things. Like they starts to crumble and like cracks start to like shoot energy and stuff like that. So not good.
Which you see a lot in the various. I don't want to call them crossovers because they're not really. I mean, in the comic world, everything's a crossover, right? But when it's like a TV show, it's a crossover. So, but you see that so frequently. And whenever the Flash is dealing with other superheroes, it's usually because something's askew in the Speed Force.
Yeah, and Wally was really confident in himself and in the Titans, but like there's a bunch of stuff that happens, and we could talk about it, but honestly, we don't have time. You could just look it up. He basically he kind of retires the mantle at one point. But when Barry disappears on the Crisis Infinite Earth situation, he kind of goes, oh, well, we need a Flash. Boom, puts on the mantle, and that's how we got Wally West as like a main continuity Flash for a hot
right,
minute.
because he put on Barry's costume, and because all he found, right, he found the ring, because Barry's costume was able to fit in the ring, right?
Yeah.
So he put on Barry's costume and basically picked up the Flash. And it was kind of cool because that's how they passed on the mantle. They didn't want to totally Barry, right? So they basically had him, I don't want to say be absorbed into the Speed Force, because that's not necessarily what it was.
Yeah.
So, but they were like,
yeah, let's. Oh, no, go ahead.
but I was just gonna say, so Wally was like, the Earth needs a Flash, and so he picks up the mantle. He ends up using the suit, and then he gets a new suit or makes adjustments to it? I can't remember which.
He changes it slightly because when Barry comes back, he comes back looking all spiffy and new in his shiny lightning filled suit because he's been absorbing the Speed Force for like 30 or 40 years, running around doing Barry Allen things. Which is the craziest story to think about. Like, you think somebody's dead, and then it just turns out, nah, they've just been running. It's the simplest explanation, but it's way more complicated than that.
It's definitely more complicated than that. There's way more physics involved.
and that's the thing about the Flashes in general, is all of them are actually pretty smart. Jay Garrick is like he's like, I think chemistry and physics are like his main studies, if I'm not mistaken. So, and then Barry's a forensic scientist. Wally, I think, I'm not really sure if Wally's a scientist, to be honest with you.
I don't think he is. I don't think he is.
Did he go the same route as Barry? I want to say maybe he did.
I think he did.
Yeah.
Because he like how Barry idolized Jay, Wally kind of idolized Barry. So
yeah, I am a Barry Allen stan. I love Wally West, don't get me wrong, but I like Barry Allen more. And the whole reason why we wanted to talk about this was because we may not even get the Flash movie.
Exactly.
So we might as
which
well just get this one over with and get it out of the way and kind of get in the forefront because we don't know if we're getting a Flash movie at all
and
right
that's
now.
the thing is like the DCEU
Mhm.
is gonna make a huge blunder if they don't do some sort of Flash movie, and even
Right.
if it's totally scrapping this one because of oh good lord. Listen, you have a better chance of getting punched in the face by Ezra Miller than attacked by a shark in Hawaii. Okay? I'm just saying. I'm just
These are
saying.
facts. These are actually mathematical, statistical facts. That dude went off on a weekend. I don't know what his issue is. I hope he gets the help that he needs. I don't know what's up, but
But I feel like what DC should have done from the get go was take
yeah.
Grant Gustin from, I think that's his name. Did I say that
Mm-hmm.
right? Grant Gustin
Mm-hmm.
from the CW Flash and just
Mm-hmm.
make him the Flash for the movies because all of this then could have been averted.
All of it could have been avoided, and we could have had a solid segue from the
Mm-hmm.
TV series into the movies, and you would have grabbed all those fans. Honestly, I was a fan of him. I preferred him over Ezra until I saw Ezra in the Zack Snyder cut, which I fell in love with that cut. But now it doesn't matter because we didn't get the movie. So, which is supposed to be like the whole next stepping stone for the next DC, which is this is why because he's so there's the Flash is so ingrained in changing time,
Mm-hmm.
quotes everywhere, and fixing things, quotes everywhere. So I don't
Quotes.
know, man. Hopefully they get it together somehow. I don't I don't know, man.
And the thing is, because the Flash has so many cool stories, he's so intertwined with so many other superheroes, and he's got some really cool villains,
Oh,
right?
his Rogues Gallery, right? I mean, we can't really talk about Flash without talking about the Rogues Gallery, right?
Right?
You really, I mean, I love Captain Cold. Captain
Mm.
Cold was always a personal favorite of mine.
Captain,
Um,
I love Captain Boomerang, which
Boomerang
unfortunately,
is a good one.
unfortunately, he got
Well,
in the was it the
yeah.
first Suicide Squad movie? So
Which, if you watch, oh god, what's his face played a really good Captain Cold in that series.
oh, from the guy from Prison Break.
Yes, the guy
Yeah,
from Prison Break.
he was very good.
He was such a good Cold. Mirror Master, which Mirror Master on paper seems dumb.
Oh,
Somebody that can
because he
manipulate reflections,
and travel through reflections.
but really, 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 really cool power when you see how it's used. He's actually one of the few people who like infiltrated the Batcave. So,
Which
eh,
marvel at the concept. Maybe Marvel.
yeah.
Marvel was a bad word.
And then, of course, Gorilla Grodd,
Oh my
which
gosh.
we mentioned earlier, which is a fantastic,
He's
I guess villain, but kind of not.
antagonist.
Yeah, yeah, he's kind of like Zoom in that way because Zoom is so if where's it at? This explained it really well. Where
Yeah.
is it?
Well, and we can't talk about the Flash without talking about Zoom.
Right. So there's Reverse Flash, which is Eobard Thawne,
Right. Which
and then there's
was in the
Zoom,
series. Right.
right, which is in the series of the CW series,
Right.
which they did actually a stellar job on that story arc was so good and so well done. Um, and then there's oh man, what's his name? Max Zolo something. Who's Wally West? Basically,
Yeah.
he's
He's the reverse Flash for Wally West.
right. So, but he's not technically connected to the Speed Force. He can slow down time and move in between the spaces in between time. So he's not technically a speedster, but he technically is because he's moving just as fast.
He's the gray area.
Yeah, so that trying to explain that to somebody who doesn't know what's going on is fun.
Give it a shot, Joker. I'm sure there's people out here.
It's hard to explain the way I read it. I was like, I kind of understand what that just said, but even I'm like that meme, like, huh?
Joker's the meme with all the math coming at him right now.
Hunter Zolomon, thank you. I was like, I knew his last name started with a Z, which is why, yeah, Zolomon. Yeah, thank you, Verge. So yeah, that's like he's also he's a villain that he's not really a villain. He's an antagonist. He wants to push Wally. He believes the only way you grow is by overcoming adversity, and what better way than just giving you direct adversity from the person who wants you to grow, right? Like that's like, at least that's the way he looks at it in some twisted sense, in some fashion. So he's not really a villain per se, but he's like specifically Wally's villain.
Yeah.
Um, which motivation, I guess, because Wally becomes an amazing Flash. I guess it worked. Effective. I don't know. But yeah, and then there was Heat Wave, which is what the opposite of basically Captain Cold.
Yeah. He
Heat Wave.
basically does crimes and then burns all the evidence.
Yeah, and then Weather Wizard, who had a cane or a staff, I guess, depending on who's writing or who's doing the animated movie, controls weather. That's pretty dope. Storm, hello. Abracadabra.
Which, by the way, Abracadabra is such a good name.
think a weaker Zatanna.
Yeah. Which
Basically,
actually Flash teams up with Zatanna a few times. Yeah. So
yes, yeah, they have a lot of adventures. Well, just in general, he's tied with Zatanna and Dr. Fate, Ken Nelson, because of the JSA and the whole which is why again when I was excited in Black Adam to see that, I was like, oh, we were gonna get all the speedsters connected. Not anymore. All right, Carol Ferris, who is also former love interest of Hal Jordan, who becomes Star Sapphire and AKA Pink Lantern. I guess she's considered a rogue as well, which I could see, but I wouldn't have thrown her in there. Pied Piper and Fiddler, I think, would have more fit that category, in my opinion. Which, if you guys can't figure out Pied Piper and Fiddler, I mean, come on. Those are stories we grew up with as kids. And then Jay Garrick also has his own reverse Flash called The Rival, which I just learned about. I didn't even know this guy existed. So I guess that's technically considered a Flash rogue villain as well, because he's Jay Garrick's. Oh, and Shade. We didn't talk about Shade.
We did not talk about Shade.
Shade's kind of important. Shade. Shade's an anti-hero now, but was a villain. Think of who's a Marvel equivalent. I don't even know. Shade's interesting. Shade first. His name is Richard Swift. I'm not gonna say it, but we're all thinking it. He's basically invincible. Can travel through time. He's kind of, because of his time traveling, he's kind of higher than the average intellect. He's got a lot going on. We could probably do a whole episode on him, to be honest with you guys. If you don't know who Shade is, go ahead and look him up. Shadow's his main power, and he's basically an immortal. So super, super strong. He's probably the main one next to like Zoom or Reverse Flash that the Flash constantly runs into. That's like a villain or a constant villain. Oh god. Okay, so we're still on Wally West, right? This is ridiculous, man. There's so much.
I'm sorry, I just took a
Who else?
coughing fit.
Max Mercury's another one. Max Mercury is the one who got written in, who was another speedster who was actually, he was originally Quicksilver, but through, obviously for name reasons, they had to change it when DC acquired him. So they called him Max Mercury. So I think that's a pretty cool name, comparable to Quicksilver, to be honest.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, he's also a speedster, and I think there's a couple other ones, but he's another one that constantly you'll see him pop up randomly as well. You'll see him pop up in like other Earth 3 stuff, I think, if I'm not mistaken. He's another one that's really cool. That he pops up quite a bit out of nowhere. But Jay Garrick's the one you'll see more often than not pop up out of nowhere, and you're like, who's that old guy?
It's like, how dare you? That's the OG.
Yeah. And then so at some point, I think so. Depending on, I have to get this in my head, right? Because I don't want to spoil Young Justice.
I'll just do a big spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, because Wally at some point he dies.
Yeah, but he doesn't really die.
Right, he gets absorbed into. So speedsters don't really die; they just get absorbed into the Speed Force in some facet or another. But Wally's was a consistent death for a while until they brought him back in the DC Rebirth situation. which I think is still fairly new to even me. But so they do exist, I think, in main continuity right now, side by side, and it's really emotional for Barry, from what I've quickly read about it, because he was like carrying around that guilt for a while because he felt responsible for Wally's death. Because there was a situation I think he was trying to trap Superboy Prime in the Speed Force, and he gets absorbed into it. If I'm not mistaken, I think
I
that's the
believe
comic
you
book
are
one. I
correct.
believe that's the one. It came back to me. That's the one where he gets absorbed, and Barry gets all like, because he like pushes him. Because I think it's the all three. I see. No, no. See, now I think I'm talking about Young Justice. Now I think I'm talking about, because they did a variation of it that was really cool, but not the comics. um. So yeah, they basically brought him back, and they had to deal with that. And I guess I didn't even read this because there was a Flash Wars. I guess, of course, there was a Flash Wars. Why wouldn't there be a Flash Wars?
Because,
Sure.
you know, who wouldn't want to see a Flash Wars? A real
Yeah.
Flash Wars.
Okay, so we talked about Crisis on Infinite Earths. We talked about the Seven Energies. We talked about the Speed Force. We talked about the Still Force. I'm closing all those out.
I'm sorry, guys. Joker has like 17 tabs open
Yeah, there's
just
so
to
many tabs
double
open.
fact check himself.
This was a huge mounting topic. Okay, so back to Barry.
Because we were like, let's do Barry Allen. How bad could it be?
Yeah, yeah. So a couple other interesting, I guess, timelines, story arcs. Was one of my personal favorites, and you'll hear Scar talk about it a lot too. Is the Blackest Light, when
Oh, yeah.
Barry actually gets the Blue Lantern ring and becomes Blue Lantern Flash, and then eventually becomes a White Lantern Flash real quick, which is really cool. Um, which
I'm not up to date on my lanterns.
Yeah, that was a whole Lantern story or crossover that crossed over. Everybody got a ring. Everybody got a power ring. Batman was yellow, I believe. Lex Luthor was orange. Flash was blue. Everybody got a power ring, became a Lantern Corp member for like a war, basically. And because Barry is very hopeful and always, that's just his personality, he got blue and it made him super powerful. Um,
Which that's one thing about his comics that were always so enjoyable was he was always so hopeful and he was always like a glass half full type
always,
superhero
always.
in such like a dark like the dark times, right? He was always so hopeful.
Yeah, it's almost like a characteristic of a Flash, because Wally was very, very,
Wally's the
very
same way.
similar.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're very, very sarcastic, witty. They have good rapport with the other heroes when they're in the Justice League situations. Actually, Flash's rapport is some of the best in the comics, honestly, especially him and Bruce. That stuff is so good to me. Um, but so let's go ahead and answer the question, the elephant in the room, at least to me: is Flash faster than Superman?
Ah, I
Yes.
say yes.
Yes, he is. He is, because Superman has nothing to do with the Speed Force. The Speed Force is literally a force of the universe, so he's not tapping into the force of the universe. The Flash is. Flash is faster. I don't care
Flash is
what
faster.
they never settled it. I don't care. They don't have to settle it. Speed Force. It's settled. Yeah. So that was it, which is always funny to see in the movies, and you see it in the show, and you see it in the comic books. But it's Flash. It's Flash. It's always Flash. It always will be the Flash. You can't tell me otherwise. Just can't.
What if Superman tapped into the Speed Force?
That would be insane.
Well, I don't want to say it wouldn't happen because comics.
That would be like Red Sun Superman,
Yeah.
like levels of insanity.
Yeah.
Not Red. No, Million Sun, not Red
Million
Sun.
Sun.
Million Sun. Sorry, Million Sun. Hammerhead moment. Red Sun not good for Superman. Does not make him powerful.
Red Sun weakens him.
That's yeah. um. So there is. I guess we need to talk about what's going on currently, which I just had to get caught up on.
Oh,
Right.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, Verge, that's what we talked about.
Yeah.
I'm partial to Barry, but I think Wally, well, I know Wally's faster, and I know Wally has more and more in tune with the Speed Force than Barry is. Because I think was a pre Infinite Crisis, that event that happened that is the event that where he becomes the Flash is the event that creates the Speed Force, but that's not the case post Infinite Crisis. I think that's when the Speed Force gets established as one of like the foundations of like the universe, I think, instead of just like that event. So yeah, that's fun. So I guess after Rebirth, they're both existing, right? You got Wally, you got Barry, um, and there's a new villain called Godspeed. Yeah, that's right. Another speedster. That's right.
Chalk it up, guys. We got another one.
Another speedster. Yes, Godspeed. Yes, August Hart. He's also a detective. I I guess cops just out here just turning into speedsters, man. And so here, if you want to become a Flash, go to Central City, become a cop. You'll become a speedster at some point. It's
Is
just
that how it works?
it's a numbers game at this point, honestly, with all these origins that happen this way. They're all like friends of Barry in the Force, or the detectives with Barry, or yada 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 with Barry. Like, it, so Godspeed's interesting. Uh, he looks really cool. He's got like a white and gold suit. He's a serial killer. He's a serial killer who basically hunts speedsters to steal their speed force.
Well, that's terrifying.
Yeah, that's right. So forget death. This dude's just running around siphoning off speed force off people. That's just what he's doing.
Which
Uh,
did that happen in the series? I feel like that happened in the series.
I
but
think
I
think CW did go that route after Zoom, because they went Reverse Flash, Ebarthon, then they went Zoom, and I think they went Godspeed, if I'm not mistaken.
See,
and they even brought in everybody or Impulse.
I kind of stopped watching after Zoom. So,
I did too. That's exactly when I stopped watching.
Got really tired of Emo Berry. So
Dude, thank you. Oh, we get it. It's CW, we get it, but like, I want to see him do Flash things.
Yeah. Like I was so over it. I was so over Emo Berry. Like,
I was too.
I was like, I can't do this anymore. They did a slight version of Godspeed. Okay, I thought they did.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. I thought they would. Emo Berry was great. No, it was okay, but they didn't need to like harp on it for an entire season. 2 seasons.
I was gonna say a season. A season. What?
It was actually like 3, wasn't it?
Oh my God, I don't even know. But I was like, I can't.
It felt like 3.
I was like, I can't. I cannot do another Emo Berry season.
It felt so long. It really was the whole. Again, I love Grant Gustin as Barry. I thought he did a great job. It's just, I get it, certain episodes not so much. But again, I'll stand by that first season as one of the best representations of a Flash origin.
It was really good.
That I've seen.
Yeah, I concur. I think they hit the nail on the head, especially going back to Eobard killing his mother and everything, and all of that stuff. I thought they really did a good job.
Yeah, because that comes out after post Infinite Crisis that comes out. That he's actually the whole reason Barry Allen's life is basically just poop.
He's the whole reason, and kind of the whole reason that Barry Allen is the Flash also.
Yeah, correct. And he does have a god complex.
Yeah.
he really has a god complex. Actually, all speedsters have a god complex.
A little bit. I mean, can you blame them though?
Not really.
Hello?
They're super powerful. They're not just people that run fast. They literally manipulate a kinetic like part of the universe.
Right. And I mean, and I think that's what a lot of people think too, is they're like, oh, well, what can he do? He can just run fast. No. Like, he can go invisible. He basically vibrates his molecules in his body so fast that he can go invisible. He can, go through walls and like all kind of other things. So it's not just the fact that he can run fast and time travel, because he can time travel because he can run so fast. He can literally run faster than time. So
yeah. And that's why people are constantly trying to tap into. That's why, like, Luther was trying to discover the Still Force to tap into the Speed Force, because he was looking for a way to harness that, because it's a powerful. It's extremely powerful.
And because he's Lex Luthor.
Lex, God, as much as I love Lex as a character, man, he is the reason for a lot of bad crap.
He really is.
That dude just needs to stop meddling with stuff, man. He's the whole Superboy Prime thing, like, The kryptonite suit, the kryptonite bullet, the whole reason why oh, who is it that gets the kryptonite bullet? It's not Brainiac. Oh, he's a robot. I can't remember his name. He's a robot and he can like project false images of like skin around him, and I forget his name. Amazo? Is it Amazo? It might be Amazo.
I don't know. This is your
Anyway,
world, not mine.
this is coming. This is all right. So anyway, back to the Flash. Back to the
Metallo.
Metallo. Thank you. Good lord, man.
Which,
My
by the way, that sounds like a terrible food.
Metallo. Would you like a side of Metallo? Oh, that does sound terrible.
Right? No, it's got a
That
little
does
lead
sound
in
terrible. Ugh. Now I'm just thinking about like mercury in a bowl, like just no.
it. I'll take a Metallo cup.
With like a little garnish of like cucumber and tomato on top, just sitting like it sounds disgusting.
I'm envisioning. No, you know what I'm envisioning? Those Mallow cups, like the Reese's peanut butter cups, but instead of peanut butter, it's marshmallow.
Okay, yeah.
Bite into it, it's all shiny and hard.
A fun fact: he's actually Barry Allen's from Iowa. You know who else is from Iowa? James T. Kirk. Yeah, I'm a nerd. Okay, moving on.
I don't listen.
Also, Wally. Wally was one of the few people to sit on top of the Mobius chair and not die. Bruce Wayne was one of the only other people to do that. So Wally can pretty much.
But Bruce had plot armor.
Yeah, I mean, Bruce lives in plot armor. I mean, if you really want to listen,
pretty much.
He lives that's the reason why that was the whole reason why Justice League Doom story arc was because plot armor, the whole thing. Also, there's a, and I didn't read this, but Scar got me into this. The whole Metalverse thing. There's a whole speedster Flash family involvement into the Metalverse. If you guys want to read that, check that out. I know a lot of people love that story. I just haven't gotten to it yet. I don't really want to spoil it by reading too much into it because I do want to actually read it. So, but I know the Batman Who Laughs is involved, and there's the whole Flash family thing. So that should be pretty cool.
The Batman Who Laughs is really creepy.
Yeah.
And if you don't know what I'm talking about, just look at Joker's Fortnite skin.
It's true. Bruce Wayne's the most powerful human in DC. I will agree with you on that because plot armor. You can't defeat the plot armor. It's the reason why Barry Allen survived running for 30 years. You gotta have the plot armor.
Oh my god.
I'm severely oversimplifying that story.
You really are.
It's just to get under skin, but that's basically what DC said. It's way more complicated. There's like 3 parts to it. But yeah, it's basically what we're given as the reason. Yeah, and then like we said, we got the movie coming up. We don't know if it's happening.
Yeah.
Flash is kind of a central part to everything going on moving forward.
And that's the whole thing is, okay, if the Flash movie then doesn't happen, right? Then, like, look, DC can do 1,000 different things, but they're really missing an opportunity to do some amazing things with amazing characters. And I say that very optimistically, as DC movies have kind of been, you know,
poop.
He said it. I thought it. Aquaman.
Even like, which I had to look up the numbers of Aquaman after that trial because that lawyer saying it was the biggest movie of all time triggered me to no end, and I actually had to know the numbers so I could just shut her up in my head about it. It actually did a lot better than I thought.
It did.
It did, which surprising, but not too
It.
surprising because Jason Momoa, and
I mean,
he's
I'll
not
watch a
bad.
Jason Momoa movie.
He wasn't bad. It really wasn't that bad, but it was like top 25 or something like that
Hmm.
world grossing film, so
But
not
it
bad.
wasn't number one.
No, it wasn't number one like that lawyer said.
Aquaman.
Ridiculous, ridiculous,
I'm so
ridiculous.
sorry.
That's why I can't go to stuff like that, because I'd be in the back of the courtroom and be like, objection. It's like, who's that guy in the back objecting to stuff?
It's just some comic nerd. Get him out of my court.
Yeah, man, it's there's so much more that we could really go into. Like I love some of my favorite stories that were involved the Flash of the Gorilla Grodd stories. Because
Well, Gorilla
just
Garage.
when you start to feel for Grodd, he's just shows that he's just a jerk.
Yeah.
Just when you start to get a little bit of sympathy for him, he just goes and shows his villainous side, and you're like, ah, there it is. That's why we don't like him. But you feel bad for him because he's the whole monkey thing and the whole being held captive and all that stuff. So he's another cool villain if you guys want to look into.
I'm gonna be the nerdy biologist.
Mm-hmm.
Ape.
Great
monkey,
ape, whatever, same thing. Whale, fish, whatever.
Wow.
Dolphin, whatever.
Whale, fish. Okay, I'm out.
Trying to think of what else. There was a Futures End story arc that I actually have a couple of copies
we actually need to talk a little bit about Bart.
Oh, you're right. Also, thank you for reminding me. So Bart Allen, Barry's grandson, comes from a very not good future.
Yeah.
He makes it seem like he's coming back to like help out his future, but really he's just escaping it. He's just he pieced out. There was no reason to. There's I guess there's no fixing that where he's from, the timeline he's from.
Nope.
From what I've gathered. Again, Young Justice does another really good job portrayal of a character.
Now,
he's super powerful as well.
Is it Bart or is it Wall? I have read so much and I've confused myself. Is it Bart or is it Wally's kids that have like that advanced aging? Because it's Bart because he was born. Bart. Yeah, so he's basically got like that advanced aging type thing where he is aging at an accelerated rate.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, he also goes by the moniker Impulse.
Yes.
But that's because of his impulsive nature.
Yeah, it's.
Go figure. Go figure. But he is actually the son of Barry Allen, who in the future Barry Allen, and Melanie Thawne, who is Professor Zoom's daughter.
Dun dun dun.
Dun dun dun. As the world turns.
No, as the Speed Force turns.
Yeah,
runs?
yeah. And it's funny. A fun fact is actually Bruce that gives him the name Impulse.
I did not know that.
Yeah. Because he's just He was one of the few.
Yeah, it's Don Allen. Because Barry had two kids, Dawn and Dawn. He had a son and a daughter. Which, by the way, Barry, why are you naming your Dawn and Dawn?
Well, there's also Jess Quick, which we didn't really talk about. I guess we can touch on
twins.
Another speedster, which I think just got retconned or reworked or just got an update or something recently. Something happened with Quick, Jess Quick.
Oh, Jess Quick.
Yeah, that put them main. I think back in main continuity. So that's something else we can look that if anybody's looking for some like newer extra speedster stuff. I know that. I think that's another story you can look into. To be honest, but Bart is where you really get the Young Justice stuff, which is that's where most of my knowledge comes from. Because I think Bart, if I'm not mistaken, is also one of the few speedsters who can send copies of himself to different locations in the timeline.
Which marvel at the concept. Again, bad choice of words.
Yeah, yeah. He can like send. I think like little. I guess Bart probes, whatever you want to call them. I don't know, man. Speedster probes off into timelines. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, man.
What's that? Oh, it's a Bart probe. What's that for?
Mm, yeah. Yeah. He's interesting. I want to read more about Bart. Like I said, my knowledge is severely limited to like the Young Justice, the animated
Which the
series.
Young Justice animated series was a great series.
Very, very good.
It was a really good series.
Yeah, if you want that, if you honestly just want some good stories, just some all around good superhero stories, that's a really good place to
Mm-hmm.
start. And you get some important Flash stories in there too as
Mm-hmm.
well, because of course you have to.
100%.
And they do Zatanna really well too. I like the way they do Zatanna. And
Mm-hmm.
then
I
what else
love
do they do really
Zatanna.
well? Yeah, she's so good.
You know, when I dressed up as Black Canary for New York Comic Con
Mhm.
2019, yeah, 2019, there was a girl dressed up as Zatanna, and she was like, "Oh my God, we're like best friends," and I was
That's
like,
yeah.
"We are."
Yeah. Actually, then there's a newish to me. I don't know if it's been around, but it's on HBO. It's a new DC animated. It's a Flash centric story where he basically stops a kryptonite bullet from hitting Superman, and when he like enters whatever the Speed Force and touches the kryptonite, it sends him to an alternate like time in like World War II where like the Nazis are taking over, and that's where Jay Garrick's also involved in that as well. In the JSA, you actually get a really early pinup version of like Black Canary, which is really cool. You also get God, what's his name? Widow? Is his name Widow? I forget his name. Anyway, you get a whole JSA setup, which is really cool. It was pretty cool. Good animation. Pretty cool movie. It was another Flash movie.
I'll have
I had
to
to
check
watch
that
it.
one out. I have not
Yeah.
seen that. Might be a good one.
There's a lot of good material out there for people to find for sure on the
Oh
Flash.
yeah,
That's the one thing.
there is. That's the thing. There is so much Flash material out there. Like you can spend days sifting through it all. Justice
That's it.
Society,
Just
World
Society
War
World
Two.
War II.
Thank you,
That's it.
Verge.
That's it. It was really good. I enjoyed it. The animation was different than most DC movies. It was a little more cartoonier, which is weird for me to say about a cartoon, but it was still pretty good.
Cartoonier.
I feel like DC animated movies have like this seriousness
Oh
about
yeah,
them, and this was a little bit lighter animated. Like the faces, I don't know. It's hard to describe. It's still good.
I'll have to check it out, and make sure you check it out too.
Yes. Okay.
that's
Anything
what
else about the Flash?
that's what I'm wondering, Verge.
It's a word. Don't tell me about words. I know words. I know plenty of words. I know lots of words.
He's the wordiest of words.
I know the wordiest words. That's right. That's a good one. I'm stealing that. I'm stealing that. Let me check this list real quick. Let's see who else. Oh, we didn't talk about Johnny Quick. Johnny Quick was another alternate from the Crime Syndicate. It was like an evil version of the Flash who looked like Hobgoblin, like a Hobgoblin Flash.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Not to be confused with Jess Quick's dad. Different Johnny Quick. Different
Different.
Johnny Quick. Yeah, evil. This one villain. We did Bart Allen. We did Zoom. We talked about the Rival, which was Jay Garrick's anti-Flash thing. The Black Flash was Death, and Savitar.
Oh yeah.
He's another speedster. I don't really know a whole lot about him. But there was something I was reading that was saying he could make a comeback because of what they set up in the New 52. That's what it is.
Yeah, which the new 52 really shook things up a lot for
It
the
was another,
Flash.
yeah, that was another
It
Infinite Crisis kind of thing.
it really shook things up for the Flash.
Yeah, so the speedsters, because there was a post New 52, there was a like explosion of that's why I was saying, guys, I'm like, guys, there's a lot of speedsters, and there's a lot more even than I thought, because I guess post New 52 there was something going on in Central City. I haven't really looked into that story arc too much. Quite frankly, we don't even have time to really talk.
We
Even if
really
I had
don't.
time to look into it, yeah, it would be another 30, 45 minutes of me just jabbering on. So yeah, there's just if you just look up DC speedsters right now, you'll see.
There's a ton.
It's a lot. I'm closing this. Okay. What's up? What's up, guys?
George was like, I can't anymore. I
I
can't.
can't, man. I can't. That was it. Anything we missed?
I'm sure we missed a lot
I'm sure we
because
missed it, dude.
there's
Yeah.
so much to talk about, especially like, oh, Barry isn't an only child. Like
Yeah, he had a
he
brother.
had a brother
Um,
who got put to like a criminal family because their child died. So,
hmm
there's there's that.
Yeah,
So
they were told that the child died. Barry was born like 2 weeks later, which kind of, I guess, set the tone for
his
Barry's lateness. Because
lateness.
Barry is chronically late to everything. Even though he's the fastest man alive, he's literally late everywhere he
Yeah.
goes.
Yeah.
It's a running gag
Yeah. He's always late.
to
Always.
anniversaries, and it's actually a huge problem for him with relationships and stuff like
Hmm.
that. Because he never. It's not that he doesn't remember. It's just that he's the Flash. He figures he can always make it, and he never does.
Which, when he first gets his superpowers, he's like, the world
Yeah,
seems to be going a lot slower. And then he's like, wait,
yeah.
it's not going slower.
I'm going
I'm going
fast.
faster.
I'm going fast.
I'm gonna, Ricky Bobby, I want to go fast.
Yeah. And the Flash's rapport with any Green Lantern is always a good time, especially Hal Jordan and Barry. But even Hal and Wally
Yeah.
had even they had good rapport. I keep going back to that, but it's because it's like it's a core characteristic of being a Flash is witty, being extremely witty,
I thought you were about to
and high
say it.
metabolism.
Yeah, I thought you were
That's
about
the
to
other thing.
say, I'm just keep going back to the lanterns because you're a lantern stan.
I am a Lantern guy. That's yeah, that's
Yes, Malcolm Thon,
correct.
Cobalt Blue. That's right.
Hmm. Yeah, because he went to the Thons. That's right. He went
Hmm.
the family he went to ended up being the Thons.
Hmm.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, now I remember. That's right. Thank you for saying that. That's right. I was like, I was like, no, he got adopted by like some important evil family.
He
That's
got
right.
adopted afterwards, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Which of course creates the whole jealousy thing.
Which I feel like is, kind of a standard supervillain type deal.
Oh yeah, you always have, and that's what we talked about with with Morbius. That's why
Oh
we
my
didn't,
god.
because it's a common trope you see. Is we've
Hmm.
Flash has been out for how many years? Come on,
Since the
it's
40s, right?
you just see it. It's a common trope that you
Hmm.
see over and over and over again, and like that's why I get it. I get it happened in more, but we didn't need to see it. Stop it.
I'm screenshotting that, Verge.
It's morbid time.
No, it's this.
Yeah, that's right. It's this.
On that note, I think that's
Yep,
it. We
that's
mentioned
it.
Morbius, like we can't anymore.
That's it. We're done.
Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us tonight. We really appreciate it. As always, you can catch the live recording of the podcast every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in the Candyland Discord. You can catch the upload every Friday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, YouTube, and you can also catch us live streaming on Twitch at really random times.
Yeah, especially Lily.
Yeah. But thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you guys next week. Peace.
Later.